On the 28th of October 2017, Matpat released the first part of his final Fnaf Theory on the Game Theorists channel. This was his take on the Fnaf timeline before the release of Fnaf 6. Two interesting ideas were presented in this video. One of them is that Bavora is Miss Afton, and the topic of today's video is the first. As the name implies, is the theory that Elizabeth Afton is the first death in the timeline of the original games. The main evidence used for this theory is that there is an empty girl's room in the Fnaf 4 house with no sister mentioned anywhere in the game. Matpat believed it was possible for Circus Baby's pizza world to have existed early in the timeline because the animatronics can roam freely and the presence of the Night Force Springwalk suit in the location. This would place the events of Elizabeth's death before the bite of 87 and the multiple and simultaneous Springwalk failure, which a large portion of the community believes is the MCI. Another interesting idea was thrown into the mix by Matthew Patrickson, which although the future iterations of the Elizabeth theory don't have, is that the crying child saw a baby killing Elizabeth. He proposed that this event is what the bite victim had seen. The nightmare Fredbear's stomach mouth is a manifestation of the fear of an animatronic doing the same thing to him. This was met positively from the casual viewer, but a lot of hardcore Fnaf fans had problems with it. The first problem was Sissy seeing his sister's death. Baby's programmed to kill only when a child is isolated. She herself stated that there was only one child in the room. Fredbear's stomach mouth can also very easily be a representation of a Springwalk failure. Dave is way more likely to have seen one, as he has spent time in Fredbear's family diner, and he has never been implied to have been to Circus Baby's pizza world. Nightmare Fredbear also has only been acknowledged by Michael in the survival logbook. It's unclear if Dave has ever seen him at all. The second problem theorists have is that they don't believe William would have a motive or the resources for Circus Baby's pizza world this early in the timeline. At that time, the whole community believed that William started his murder spree because of the loss of his beloved son that he cared for so much. An underground bunker with experiment rooms and funtime animatronics were literally made of giant wires with opening faceplates on top of their specific ridiculously advanced feature made 7 or more years before the SNES is a hard thing to imagine. This idea had seemingly been dropped by Matpat after this video, with it being downgraded to a niche theory that gets a lot of hate when mentioned, but a lot of the latest releases seem to lean into this direction, and in this video I will make the case for Elizabeth first in the big 2026. But first we need to talk about if Sissy saw Elizabeth die. On one hand, this kills two birds with one stone. The empty room mystery and remember what you saw mystery can easily be explained this way. It's also very narratively satisfying. On the other hand, we have no actual proof Sissy was present there. The only piece of actual evidence to support this is Nightmare Fredbear's stomach mouth. It could mean he saw baby's claw, or it could symbolize a Springwalk failure. As stated before, it's very subjective. Now especially with the proto Fredbear suit opening like that, it's fully possible a Springwalk failure looks like the animatronic is eating someone with their stomach mouth in the eyes of a child. Also, the only time it's implied we play as Dave in Fnaf 4 is the character encyclopedia, and let's just say, it's not the most reliable source. Even though Matpat crafted a great narrative, I don't think the bite victim saw Elizabeth's death. It's way too headcanony. Now let's see how the newest game and movie increased the chances of this theory greatly. Well, what do these releases tell us? Are they really this much of a game changer? First is the critically acclaimed Fnaf 2 movie, where we see Circus Baby is not only built but is possessed all the way back in 1982. The movies are very distinctly different from the games. It will probably expanded upon in the next movies, so it isn't the best idea for us to wave it around like it's 100% telling us that Circus Baby has opened in 82. But Scott himself decided to have Baby in the Vanessa flashback, which is a very obvious push in the Elizabeth first direction, but we will see. Secret of the Mimic is a bigger wrench in the discussion in my opinion. This theory is way more likely thanks to this game. First, we see that Afton definitely had the resources this early on. Fazbear Entertainment is a huge brand with so many locations that a dispatch is needed. A huge underground factory under a house that could easily be transformed into sea bears is taken by Willie A at the end of this game. MCM is filled with animatronics that clearly inspire the fun times like Jackie and Nurse Dolly, and advanced technology the Mimic. The fun times have voice mimicking and the ability to pretend in Baby's case. Homicidal tendencies are present in Afton this early in the timeline also. You can't tell me that Afton has not at least killed one of Fiona or Dave. Tiger is very clearly possessed, which could inspire William to start experimenting with Agony and Remnant. This game gives Afton all the needed ingredients to make Circus Babies early on a silver platter, but these pieces only make it possible. What we need is solid evidence. Let's get back into the sister's room. A lamp, a picture of a pink flower, which for some reason is the only one in the game with 5 petals and not 6, and a broken Mangle Toy next to the bed are present in this room. Only one of them is important, and that is Mangle. This toy has a lot of weird implications. First, it connects the room's owner to Mangle, whose fixed up version is called Funtime Foxy in Fnaf World. Funtime Foxy is a weird character because they are part of the toys and the Funtimes. Something interesting about Adventure Funtime Foxy is that in Fnaf World they are placed between the Crank Child and Nightmare Fredbear, all the way at the end of the roster, which would connect this character to Fnaf 4. Now the roster in this game is pretty random, with the characters being largely ordered by strength, like the Phantoms being between JJ and the Wizards, and the Endos and Golden Freddy being way at the back. But still, Scott chose to put the fixed version of Mangle there, plus to make it a Funtime animatronic. So it is at least something. Okay, but is it possible that the person the room belongs to is present, or at least alive, in the Fnaf 4 minigames? I don't really think so. Pink Tail Girl is the most common candidate. Her dialogue implies that she doesn't live together with Dave because she said they will see each other at the party and not at home. The girl with the toys, in my opinion, is a way more likely suspect. She plays right next to the Afton household and has the toys of the toy animatronics, which would make a complete set with the Mangle one in the room. She seems like a strong candidate, but there is no indication she knows Dave at all. At the Bite Victim's birthday or the Night 6 minigame, she is nowhere to be seen, which if she really was his sister, she would most likely be present. A character with one line and no emphasis at all would be highly unsatisfying as the sister of the protagonist of these minigames, and going forward an important character in the story. There are also ways of saying that this room belongs to Elizabeth without having her be one of the female characters in the game, or be killed before it. First is that she is yet to be born. There is an empty room for her because she is expected to be here soon. This would mean that Circus Babies would be all the way in the late 80s or early 90s, and I believe Elizabeth dies before the MCI because of the presence of the Springwalk suit in the location. Next is that Elizabeth is with Mrs. Afton. In my humble opinion, this has 0% chance of actually being true. Miss Afton is a character that quite literally does not exist. Only mentions of her we can stretch are Clara from The Immortal and the Restless. The show itself implies that the children are living with her, but under this interpretation only Elizabeth lives with her. If we believe that Vanessa's family life is just a retelling of the Aftons, we get another mention, but Elizabeth ends up living with William if that's the case. And lastly, the stuff about family, which does not tell us anything. Elizabeth's character goes against living with her mother as a whole. Her only motivation is to make her dad proud and be loved by him in both the games and in the books. But all of that does not matter because I have undeniable proof that Elizabeth is already in Baby by the time of Fnaf 4. Ready? Scott has said that he likes to clarify things in his next game. The empty sister room was one of the biggest mysteries of Fnaf 4. And what is the next mainline game called? Sister Location. Subscribe for more genius Fnaf theorizing. But seriously, the missing daughter of the Afton family is the thing the whole story of Fnaf 5 revolves around. She's quite literally the main antagonist of the game. We hear from her before every night.
Daddy, why won't you let me play with her?
This is directly after one of the biggest mysteries of the previous game being an empty girl's room. I think it counts at least a little. Another detail is hidden in the bunker that implies its early existence. In the breaker room map, Fredbear's is shown to be an observation room. William wouldn't need to observe a close to Fredbear's, so the bunker would need to be in use before the Bite of 83. The bunker could have only been used for the experiments in the beginning, and not to house the Funtimes. Well, annoying nerd character I just made up. This may be true, but it's clear as day the Funtimes were down there for a long time, deep below ground, where memories sleep. The animatronics were directly taken from Circus Babies to the bunker after it closed, and there were multiple escape attempts by the animatronics. Also in the game, William only kidnapped kids for the experiments with the Funtimes to our knowledge. For the experiments to start, the Funtimes are needed. You may be wondering if we can get a clear date for Circus Baby's opening. Obviously, it will have to happen before Fnaf 4, and it needs to be after William acquires MCM. It gives us a time frame of 4 years between 1979 and 1983. It would most likely happen in the later years, because it will be hard for William to transform the factory and create the fun times in 1 to 2 years. Let's see if you can get references for the years in this time frame, because it probably won't be a year we haven't seen anywhere in the franchise. Only 2 years in this period have relevance, 1982 and 1983. 1982 is the year of the original Freddy's opening in the Fnaf 2 movie, and as stated before, we see Baby is ready in the same year. In the newspaper Henry shows Mike, William is framed as an aspiring engineer and entrepreneur. Similar language has been used in the Council due to Leaks teaser, where Afton is called a local entrepreneur. The similarity in the way Afton is described in both can show us that it happened around the same time, when 82 was hidden in Scott's game source code once when Scott was teasing Fnaf 4. So the year 1982 has connections to both Circus Babies and Fnaf 4, so it's plausible. What 1983 has going for is that it's way more relevant to the series as a whole. It also appears in Sister Location. In the private room, it's the code that shows us the experiment rooms on the screens. I think this is more of a hint for Fnaf 4's date, because at that time it was still a debated topic. But, you know, Scott could have tried to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, who knows. Elizabeth's room is also untouched, which could imply that her death happened recently. Or it's this way because it's just a hint for us that she is missing. Yeah, that's more likely. Surprisingly, 1982 seems to be the date of Circus Babies. It's almost like it was the intention from the start for Elizabeth to have died in 1982 from the beginning. This theory is seemingly correct. Now for the problems with the theory. First, William wouldn't have such a hands-off approach with the bite victim if Elizabeth died before him. Something more would have been done than just leaving him with Michael and watching him on some cameras. He would learn from his mistake and not let a beloved child of his die due to his neglect. Oh wait, I forgot, Will care is not true. He does not care. But Michael is someone I think would care. If his sister went missing in a pizzeria, he would cherish his brother a little more. Daily bullying wouldn't happen, and placing his head in the mouth of an animatronic wouldn't even cross his mind. It's not like you can say he would be apathetic to her disappearance, because the bite affected him greatly. Elizabeth being with a nanny or at some sort of daycare is a plausible explanation for the empty room. A clue to point us in this direction is that same Mangle Toy. Mangle was stationed in Kids Cove and was very popular with toddlers. As stated before, this is 4 years before Fnaf 2, so it's kinda hard to make the correlation, as Kids Cove shouldn't exist at this point. But this can be explained with gob victim or loop victim. Mango becomes popular with toddlers because in the bite victim's mind, Mango is associated with his younger sister. Or because Mango is popular with toddlers, a toy of theirs gets placed in the baby sister's room in his looping memories. You can fit this with whichever explanation of Fnaf 4 you like. So, with all the arguments for and against, does this theory stand up? Did Matpat cook all these years ago? Maybe. There is a lot of evidence for Eliza first, but for it to be the case, Mike would have to be very unlikable, and I don't think his character is meant to be this way. His whole thing is redemption and change after killing his brother, and him bullying the bite victim so severely after already losing a sibling is unrealistic for him, I think. But hey, that's just a theory. Again, if you want to see other Fnaf 4 mysteries be solved, watch this video right here, and see you next time.